What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up? So, we're gonna jump right into it here. Somebody sent me this video via Instagram, so I appreciate the sender there, and I wanna talk about it. So let's check out this video.
What's up, America? I decided that I'm no longer a black man, no longer a person of color, BIPOC, none of that shit. What I am is a non-white man. And I think we should all just start calling ourselves non-white. So, they're gonna have to figure it out. They'll just say that shit explicitly. No DEI, no BIPOC, no references to our blackness. So we just all walk around like, I'm not a black man, I'm a non-white man. I'm a non-white woman. I'm a non-white, all of us. Asians, Latinos, black people, everybody. Call it what it is. I'm just non-white. And let them rebuke that. Let them refute it.
All right, so we can see actor Malik Yoba, who's most famous for my generation, a show called, gosh, I should have looked this up. New York Undercover? I gotta look it up. I'll put it up on the screen. But he was working as an undercover cop on a New York show. It was kind of hip, edgy, young people. A couple of other actors. One of them is still active. I'll put up her name too. It's all escaping me right now. I should have looked this up before I decided to do this video. Anyway, so actor Malik Yoba, he was on that show, and then he was on a couple of Tyler Perry movies. Why Did I Get Married? Why Did I Get Married Too? Fairly decent actor, certainly a B-level actor. I don't know what he's doing today. Didn't really look, not really into his career or anything. However, but he did decide to put out something stating that he's no longer wanting to be considered a black man. Now, I don't have the full context of this, and I certainly wish that I would have the full context of it. So if anybody has the full context of it, I'll be glad to do a further breakdown and give my thoughts and my opinions about that. I didn't. There may be a fuller context. There's a couple of different avenues that I think that one could take this when they are considering exactly what he was saying. And what I think, let's take it down the road of he doesn't want to be considered a black man. Now, the first part is I didn't appreciate his comments that he's no longer cursed with blackness. Now, again, this, it's speaking off the cuff, and, not exactly sure the context of exactly everything that he's trying to say and trying to get us to understand. So let's take it from the point of him thinking that being black is a curse, and he no longer wants to be associated with that curse. There are certainly a lot of people thinking and acting along those ways. I don't want to be black. And, unfortunately, I think that is a vast majority. I'm really researching this, looking into this. Vast mindset, particularly of those who don't want to be associated with African American, in particular, culture, because they look at us as not having a culture. And these are people who are black or dark themselves. I'm speaking of some Brazilians, some Jamaicans, some Bohemians, some Dominicanos claim not to be black. No, they're Dominican. They are Taino or something else, right? They don't want to, whatever it is, they don't want to be associated with black folks. Two things I want to say about that, coming from people who are not black, who are not, and black is an assigned category or race, right? Right? It's not an ethnicity, being Kenyan or whatever, right? So we got mixed up in this thing called race because other people, according to James Baldwin, I like the way he put it, he said, James Baldwin, writer, activist, said that I'm only black because you insist on being white. Other people insist on this thing. So that's the context that I'm going to first address this in. and I don't know, again, let me say it again. I'm trying to dog Malik Yoba. I'm just trying to give some context into why some people, what you want to take from this. And one of the things that I, want people to take it is that, we are in this category, whether you're Brazilian or African American or Afro Canadian or a Black Brit, from the Caribbean, whatever, and wherever, we're in this category as a subjected race, second class citizen, and nobody wants to be there. So therefore, a lot of people don't want to be associated with that. This is the whole divestiture movement. This is the whole, what is I forget the term. It's La Raza. I'll put the term up here. Something like lightening or brightening the race. It's said in Spanish. A lot of Puerto Ricanos and Dominicanos think along those lines. They want to get closer to whiteness. So we could take this that this is probably one of the things that Malik Yoba was saying, that he didn't want to be associated with that. Now, I'm reading a book. Actually, I'm almost finished with it, and I highly recommend it. It's by a Jewish brother who teaches at Yale. I'll put the title up here. I'm almost finished with it. Well, I'm audio booking, I should say. I'm consuming the book. I'm audio booking it. Really short read, if anybody's, or a short audio book, if anybody's interested in it. Probably finish in an afternoon, actually. But he's, all this fascist talk by the quote unquote the left, and I'm reading that. So this author is talking about when they want to bring fascism in, when they want to bring a totalitarian regime. One of the first things that they do is they take control, and he lays out the steps about taking control of different functions of government. And one of them obviously is the education system. And he talks about what they did in different places, not only amongst African Americans, but what they did to the indigenous populations here and in other places in the world, including, what they did in Germany, in all that. They take control of the education system, and then they prop up a different type of education system, saying that this is the dominant culture, and this is the way that things should be, and everybody else is inferior, right? Everybody else, they are the gatekeepers of the golden age, descendants of the Greco-Roman sphere influence, and all this kind of stuff, right? So and this is where you get Hitler, and this is where you get, unfortunately, in his estimation, America, and the right. The alt-right taking control of the education system, thinks about the elimination of DEI, think about the elimination of critical race theory in schools. Elimination is probably too strong of a word because I don't think it was ever really instituted. But all this type of talk is all stemming from the getting to fascism. So what I'm saying is that when these places instituted slavery, social hierarchies, and domination, one of the first things they did was they instituted and got a hold of the children, and they instituted in them the way that they should be, think, act, walk, and talk. And they told them that if you're not doing these types of things, then you are somehow inferior. Your arts, your history is nothing. What really matters is Greco-Roman culture. What really matters is European culture. So that is one way. So fast forward to Malik Yoba. This is one way that we could interpret what he's saying. I don't want to be associated with that because I want to be associated with the dominant culture, because their culture, their history is good, is higher and closer to God, the true God. Christianity is obviously mixed in with that. The pillars of Western civilization, quote unquote, I'm not saying I believe this, I'm just saying what other people believe and think. The pillars of Western civilization is built on the Greco-Roman influence as well as Christianity. So that's what they think. So a lot of people, when you travel, you recognize, and you talk to people, you recognize, man, how much they have adopted Christianity and all this type of stuff, right? And and I'm not saying Christianity there's another book I'm going to read. It's like something like how Christianity was hijacked, or what Christianity was a whitewash. That's another book that's on my to-do list. So listen, I'm not going to talk about the origins of Christianity and all that kind of stuff, but I am saying that it's whitewashing and it's influencing and it's being used as a weapon and as a tool to convince the minds of people that you are inferior, your gods were inferior, it's starting to rain here again. Your gods are inferior, your language, your history, your culture, your myths, your everything about you is inferior. The way that your economy was inferior. Read the book. Read the book that I put up here. It's really a kind of enlightened type of thing. And of course, if you've taken African American history or whatever, or any other history class, you may have been able to put to piece these together. So, so it's really interesting that Malik Yoba would take this stance. Now, that's just one stance. The other stance could be more of a positive stance, in that he's saying, and tell me, in the comment section, which stance you believe. Do you think he's saying he doesn't want to be associated with black folks because of they're seen as inferior? He doesn't want to be part of the inferior race. He doesn't want to be, of the negativity that goes on with it. And before I go on to the positive thing, this is the attitude that a lot of people have when it comes to they don't want to be associated with these types of people. When black folks say they don't want to be associated with it, we're not a monolith and all that kind of talk, that just bothers me. It just bothers me because, the reason we're not getting to a certain level is because we have been collectively, in every culture, the darker your skin, the worse off you do. And so, we really understood this. Man, I had to move some stuff, man. It's been raining on and off all day. So, if we really understood this, then I think that we can really make some great strides into the progression of where we need to be. And, we gotta collectively hold strong. So that's really the negative. I think I laid that out. Some people don't want to be associated with the negative, even though you're black as coal. Your people are from Uganda or Kenya, or you name one of the 54 African countries. You name them, you don't want to be associated. You're Jamaican, you're Bahamian, you're from St. Lucia, you're from Belize, you're from Grenada, Panama, and you don't want to be associated with African American culture. What I start to say is that there's another YouTube, and if I can find the clip, I'll put it on here. It was a clip that I watched in which Asian people were saying that they really ought to thank the African American civil rights movement, African American members and African American community for the civil rights movement, because they wouldn't be the 22 million people here in the United States, or there in the United States, because I'm not there right now, if it were not for the African American civil rights movement, the beatings, the lynchings, the court cases, they wouldn't have been able to get here. So.
People, the day the Latino, African American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning. But the problem is our communities are divided. For Asian Americans and for African Americans, we probably have one of the worst relationships between any community.
Well, I bet you a lot of Asian Americans too in my experience, don't even realize that if it wasn't for the civil rights movement, there would not be 22 million Asian Americans in this country.
Thank you. What I have been trying to teach the Asian community is friends, do you understand that your success, your prosperity, your civil rights that you enjoy right now was paid for with black blood?
Let me pause this for a minute. All right, let me try to finish this up. It's been a little bit of a break in the rain here. What we got to do is we got to try to, remember, we got to stick together, and we got to try to make sure that we are, aligned, and some people just don't see it that way, and they don't see it that way, and Asian people have recognized that they need to have some type of deference, and if other people can see that, how come we don't see it? How come we, as a culture, or as a race of people, don't see it, and therefore when other people see it and we don't particularly see it ourselves, so we really got to kind of get together on that. All right, so that's that. So the positive thing that I think that I'm gonna give Malik Yoba the benefit of a doubt about this is that he was saying that he doesn't want to give into exactly what I was talking about, in that he didn't want to give in to the fact that, you know, he wanted to be identified as a non-white person. I understand that this is a dominant culture. And as I mentioned, what James Baldwin had said, that the only reason I'm black is because you insist on being white. So he's trying to go against that grain and saying that this is the dominant culture, and we're going to adhere to, we're going to listen to, and we're going to follow along with that. We're going to get in line with this racial hierarchy, this social hierarchy that is going on. And once if we can give that up, then maybe we can break down a lot of other barriers, the self-inflicted wounds, low self-esteem, feeling bad about yourselves. Maybe these other ideas that I just laid out, but the other people share about being associated with the race, will all come crumbling down. Could be that particular take. So it's either of the take. Either he's going along with it, or he's saying, I don't want to be associated with it. Let's stop playing this racial hierarchy game. Stop calling ourselves, you know, black and Latino and person of color and BIPOC, which stands for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color, BIPOC. Let's just stop playing this game. And, you know, if we stop playing this game, maybe we'll stop giving them power, right? It's kind of the whole situation that goes along with, you know, just the whole hierarchy, right? If there's a bully, or there's somebody who's picking on you or whatever, you know, you stop giving them attention, right? Stop feeding the trolls type of philosophy. So, I mean, you tell me which one you think he's going along with, or at least he's trying to say. So I just wanted to kind of break that down and just give my thoughts about what Malik Yoba was possibly saying. I'm going to go with the second one for my own personal opinion. I don't know if it's going to be an effective strategy. I think that there's a lot of ingrained indoctrination that has gone on into the racial caste system that has been established by the dominant culture. It just is. Jane Elliott, the famous educator who did the blue-eyed, brown-eyed experiment. If you're not familiar with that, look it up. Still active, still doing what she's got to do. You know, she instituted or started that experiment after Dr. King was killed. You know, she said that if you were educated in America, particularly, she was talking to a white audience in the clip that I saw, talking to a white audience, said if you're not a racist, then you went to public school education. If you went to public school in the United States, got an education here, and you're not a racist, then you weren't paying attention. So listen, there's a racial hierarchy system, and the other book that I laid out tells you exactly how that was instituted. Told you your myths, your legends, your culture, your arts, your history were not up to par, were subpar. Even your religion was subpar. The way that your economics was subpar, and you need to get along. And one of the ways they did it was through indoctrination of the children. The other way they did it was the destruction of other countries. So there's a lot more I could say about this. You know, quote unquote, that is quote unquote white supremacy. I'm not going to go down that road, but that is what it's not a guy in a hood or a couple of nitwits in hoods burning crosses. It is a racial hierarchical system of oppression and suppression, which then leads to depression. And it is crushing to the mind, to the soul, and therefore if you are into the minds and the souls of the generations that are coming up. And if you tell children that they're inadequate and your people were nothing and that your culture was nothing, it was a fleeting by night nothingness, doomed and destined to be erased from the annals of history, then they are going to act accordingly. So you wonder why our neighborhoods, ghettos, and low-income communities, whatever you want to call them, you wonder why they function the way that they do. It's because of an ingrained, inherited system that told them that they were inferior. So we got to get rid of that. So that may be exactly what Malik Yoba is trying to say. I'm not going to play this game anymore. I'm not going to be called black, because to be called black is not to be called white, and therefore to be placed on the lowest rung of the socio-economic and racial hierarchy. And so he's he's saying, I'm not going to play this game. It's time we stop playing this game. Time to stop giving these people what we want. I guess and I think that there is an argument to be made for that. I don't know how strong it's going to be, because there's a lot of mental shackles that have to be broken off of people's minds. When they see you, they're still seeing a black man. When they see you, they're still seeing a woman. A black woman. When they see you, they're still seeing an Asian, a white, or a native. They still see it, and they're going to put you in a category, whether you want to be put in that category or not. And particularly when you go to nations that are quote unquote developing, where Christianity has been the dominant subculture. There was a famous saying from an African chief, I believe. It's been a while since I read it or heard it. When something like the Europeans showed up, they brought Bibles and we had the land. When they left, they gave us the Bibles and they had the land, and they never really left. So when you think about that, when you understand that, you'll understand, the trickery by the missionaries and by complete and outright violence that has put us in this place where we are today. And I think that Malik Yoba is trying to undo that. And I could be wrong. He could be going down the path of Candace Owens. So, I don't know. So listen, that's my thoughts about the video. I thank the person who sent it to me. So I'd like to hear your thoughts, your opinions, and if somebody has the full context of what he was saying, then please send it to me, and I'll be glad to amend my thoughts. But listen, this is what we're dealing with here, man. We are in a pickle. We don't want to be in this place. We don't want to be thinking the way that we're thinking. Don't want to be associated with the negativity. But it's always interesting to me when I hear this negativity, right? I don't want to be black, right? Because even some African descended people who get here look down upon African Americans, and you never realize you wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for the beatings, the lynchings, the dogs getting sicked on us, the fire hoses, the police brutality, the lawsuits. Wouldn't even be here. So there's a little bit of appreciation, and has that culture been broken? Yeah, and has it been tortured and continued and for years? I mean, I would say probably the last 20 years have been the best. I mean, the civil rights movement was 68. You still got the 70s, right? You got the 80s. I didn't become a police officer in 1995. And I didn't become a police officer until 1995, and that was because of the Clinton crime bill. And in that crime bill, they wanted to hire more minorities. So that was one of the gate opening measures that allowed more people of color, quote unquote, to enter into public spheres. Another one, I'm not exactly sure of it, but the whole post office, whenever that was instituted, that was like a jobs program for black people. So, so I'm saying that to say, this era of black folks doing better, I'm talking about ADOS black folks, doing better, African American descendants of slaves or foundational black Americans, whatever you want to say, has really been those two things. Now, some trickled here and there, yes, 70s, 80s, but wholesale mass movement into the middle class, that's in the last 25 years, because of these jobs programs and because of the work, like it or not, of DEI, et cetera, et cetera. So, all right, so I think I kind of, there's a lot more I could say about that, but just want to give my thoughts and my opinions about that. And let me know your thoughts, your opinions, and where we're going, where do we go from here, as Dr. King, wrote in a book or in a speech or essay, whatever. Chaos or community, we got to get it together. And right now we seem to be in a lot of chaos, and a lot of people who are upwardly mobile in middle class, middle upper class, want no association with the lower classes, it's like we're right back to W.E.B. Du Bois, the whole talented tent thing all over again. So we gotta figure this thing out, man. We gotta figure this thing out and how we do it. How we do it. How do we do it? You know, Dr. Claude Anderson's been talking about it. I think what's his name? I forget his name. Forgive me. I think his name is. I'll try to put it up there. Dr. George Mason, I think. Well, I think it's we got to get it together, man. We got to get it together. So let me know your thoughts, your opinions. Much love and peace.